What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Courtney Barnett album, Tell Me How You Really Feel. So Courtney Barnett is back. This is her second solo studio album, Tell Me How You Really Feel. I was a pretty big fan of her previous release that came out in 2015. It's called Sometimes I Sit and Think and Sometimes I Just Sit. She also had a collaborative album with Kurt Vile pretty recently, which there were quite a few songs on there that I did dig as well. Yeah, she came onto my radar with some live performance on one of the late shows. I forget which one it was, maybe Colbert. But I really dug the electric, garagey, grunge-like energy coming from the sound of the music. I thought her vocal delivery was pretty unique, pretty interesting. That drew me into the album, which for the most part I really enjoyed, though admittedly the sort of slower, longer bluesy tracks I wasn't really feeling. I liked some of the more upbeat ones, the more grungy, garagey ones. And while I do really like that first album, I feel like the second one is quite an improvement. I feel like Courtney's really focusing in on song structure, or even more like how catchy the song is. There's a lot of pop hooks and a lot of those kind of elements to the songs, while not giving up on that garagey, grungy sound in the guitars. I was completely hooked and still am on that first single, Nameless, Faceless. It starts out with that windy, kind of disorienting guitar, downward pattern. I love how there's like sort of a breeze and an ease to the verses before going into this very electric chorus. Easily one of my favorite choruses I've heard in a while. The way her voice just kind of floats on top of these kind of frantic guitar lines is pretty cool. And what you're seeing on this song, what you're seeing on quite a lot of the songs on here, her vocal delivery on the first album could be somewhat jarring at times. I grew to like it, especially on a song like Pedestrian at best. It was a little more rambly in like a Dylan kind of way, Bob Dylan, which I thought was kind of cool. But I do appreciate that, she's kind of focusing more on the vocal melodies on this album. The songs are definitely catchier because of that, and I do feel like the vocals have improved overall. I do like the bit of a change going on here. Hopefulness starts things off to a sort of dreary start. It's like a very minuscule guitar line, very light vocals from Courtney Barnett. It builds to this really dirty sounding ending, which I think was a pretty cool way to open the album. Before going through a string of songs that are just so catchy, poppy in nature, but like I said, not missing out on that guitar element, that garagey type sound. City Looks Pretty has a Wilco kind of feel to it for me, the way the drums kind of drive, the guitars are a little bit bluesy, not quite, but they kind of are. But I think it's cool, the vocal melodies in the verses are probably just as catchy, if not more so than the chorus, which I think works pretty well. What happens on here, which happens as well in the next song, Charity, is there's a lot of background keyboard or organ or whatever. I feel like that just adds to the instrumental so well, especially in Charity. It really makes the chorus rise up to this pretty big, bombastic feel. Charity being one of my favorites on here, mainly because of that just, huge chorus in there. What I do like about a lot of these songs as well is the kind of, there's a lot of self-deprecating lyrics on here, a lot of personal type stuff, mixed with this sort of upbeat, happy-sounding music for the most part, which I always think albums like that create a pretty cool effect. For example, Crippling Self-Doubt has this very bouncy, poppy feel to it, which musically is really great, but is perhaps one of the more personal songs on the album, which I think, like I said, makes a pretty cool effect to it. Right after Nameless, Faceless, you have I'm Not Your Mother, which is just this less than 2 minute, aggressive, great way to break up the sound of the album. Loud, distorted guitars, just a lot of great energy on here. I think it's the perfect amount of time. It's a short song, and where it's it's so good you wish that it would be longer. At the same time, it provides that really quick punch to it, which I do like. And at the same time, there are some uplifting moments such as Help Yourself, which just has such an immense groove to it. Some really cool guitar work going on towards the end, very distorted, very in your face. The way it plays against this nice kind of groovy slow tune is pretty cool. With songs like Walking on Eggshells and Sunday Roast, you see a little bit more diversity in the sound as well. Walking on Eggshells in particular has a lot of piano-based instrumentals to it, which it changes up the sound. It adds a sort of richness to it overall. I kind of get vibes of Jack White solo material, pre-Boarding House Reach, which I think is pretty cool on here. It works well for her. It suits her voice well. You're really seeing that a lot on the album. There's just a richness in the sound as far as sort of changing things up and growing from that initial release, focusing more in on the songs, creating hooks to them, having them be more memorable, more catchy. And overall, I just think it really works well. And, add that on top of, Courtney focusing more on the melody of her voice and the sound of it there, less of that sort of Bob Dylan type more talkative nature. You're getting a lot more catchiness on this album, and it all works really well for me. I'm definitely enjoying this one. I'm feeling a strong 4 out of 5 for it. So let me know what you think of the album in the comments, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.